All right, should be live. Looked like I was having some streaming issues for a second there. So today's guest was supposed to be Owen from Green Ronin Publishing. Unfortunately, he had family emergency, and so he couldn't make it today. So we're flying solo, but we hope everything's all right, Owen, and hopefully we can reschedule a time that works better to have you on sometime. So a lot of cool stuff going on with Master the Game. We've got guests lined up all the way through June 18th. Some of them are more tentative at the moment, but we are getting confirmed dates and times right away as quickly as we can. Right now, we have two guests next week, one from Paizo, one from Dice Bard, that should be on here. So that'll be awesome. And this Saturday, I'm confirmed to be sitting down with D&D Elise from Twitter, and she's a author on DM's Guild, and so we're going to be recording it off stream, and then we will upload it at a later time. So that'll be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. So a lot of stuff's going on. We've got games being run on Friday nights right now. This Friday and next Friday, we will be playing Wildemount, the Critical Role setting. And my friend Tom is going to be running that on the channel. We will have Forgotten Throne next Wednesday. We didn't play this week. Yesterday, I had to make a choice. I've known for about 2 days now, actually, since our last stream. I found out that my work wanted me to come back in. I didn't realize that we were open. And I wasn't comfortable with that. So I had to make a tough decision to either return to work or not. And we weighed a lot of the pros and cons. The economy was a factor. Putting my kids in daycare was a factor. I have 3 of them. And all of this. And I decided not to return to work. And so basically I rejected employment. So at this time, I am officially, truly unemployed. But that's okay. Everything will be all right. We are budgeting accordingly, and I think we'll be fine. So some of the guests you can expect coming up in the next several weeks, some publishers, designers, developers from Green Ronin. We've got Paizo. We've got Keisha Howard coming on, Steve Kenson, Crystal Frazier, all these cool people, right? We've got the guys from RPG Academy, which is a podcast. You can check them out on Twitter. Randall Hampton, who is an author and artist. He does some really cool streams where he's drawing, and he made the Little Game Master book. Just had a second Kickstarter, and the second one had a game for kids in it. So that's pretty cool. They funded, and I think now you can start ordering stuff. Babarchi from Power Outage, which is like a kid's superhero RPG. Scott Yules from Maximum Apocalypse. So all these guests, up through, again, June 18th. We're going to be trying to line up more guests moving forward. So if, again, you have somebody you want to see on here, let me know. I will reach out to them. If you tag them, maybe they'll reach out to me. I don't know. But would love to have them on, talk to them, and learn about them and their history in gaming. I'm very fascinated by the creative side of developing RPGs and games, books, things like that. And so that's something that's interesting to me. And so getting the chance to sit down and talk to creatives about the process, about what got them started in the industry, their experience, all of that, I absolutely love it. So the more people I can get on here, the better. Even if it's just somebody who made their own game and sold it to 5 people, I don't care. I'm still curious about the process for them and things like that. I have plenty of friends working on their own stuff, as I've talked about. Heck, I'm working on my own thing for fun. So yeah. As of right now, we've got the 2 Wildemount games tomorrow night, and then the 15th as well. So the May 8th, May 15th. That's episode 3 and 4. And there's talk that maybe that'll go beyond that. Maybe they will continue with those characters. Maybe they will start a new campaign. I don't know. Hopefully we'll stream that on this channel. But all of that's being talked about right now. It's one of my favorite games to actually listen to online. So it's kind of cool that it's on my channel. We have the BlackRock game coming up on May 30th. That is the one with my wife, our good friend Nicole, our friend Paul, who plays in our Wednesday game, and then my wife's brother, Andrew, who's playing our cleric. And that has been a ton of fun. Really enjoy playing that game. That is May 30th. That'll be episode 3 or 4 now. And we play about once a month, but there's talk of doing that more frequently as well. Descent into Avernus, as of this moment, we aren't playing again until June 20th. That's with Luke from the DM Lair, Nate from WASD20, Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and then my wife. Right now, the plan is that'll be June 20th. However, we are talking about possibly May 23rd. So that's up in the air. If something changes, you guys will hear about it, probably on one of my upcoming streams. So yes, a lot of stuff going on. On Tuesday, I said I would be more prepared. I'll admit, I'm not prepared to run a solo stream. So it's just free-form talk. So if you've got something you want to discuss, post it in the chat. I'm happy to piggyback off of that. Again, I was expecting a guest. He just couldn't make it. Family emergency, and that's okay. We'll probably reschedule and maybe get him back on here in June sometime. If you still want to support him, there are links in the description. If you want to go check out his Patreon or anything like that, feel free to. Again, it's family emergency. I don't know the details, but I'm sure he would appreciate the help. Especially if you're already a fan of him. So, speaking of which, since he works for Green Ronin, I have a couple other developers from Green Ronin coming up. I figured I'll just pull up my Fantasy Age book, which is right here. This book I bought a few years ago, about 3 years ago, I think. And there's a lot of stuff I like in it. It's a pretty thin book. It's just a core book. It's great for more setting neutral things. So you can play like your own setting. About 142 pages. And, there's a lot I like about it. I really like the system. I love how they do the character creation for races. And the thing I like about it is rather than just you get some stuff from your race, right? So for example, a halfling, you'll get a plus to your dexterity ability. You get a skill, you get set speed, languages. However, the thing I like about it, roll twice on the halfling benefits table for additional benefits. And you roll 2d6. And the options, things like +1 to perception, +1 accuracy, +1 communication, focus, dexterity, initiative. So each halfling is going to be completely different than the next halfling. That's one of the things I really like about this. Each character is different. I could make a dwarf fighter for this game and a dwarf fighter for this game, give them the same weapons and everything, but they're still different, just based on that, So I think they did a good job with that. There's another book that goes along with it. It's like the Fantasy Age Companion Guide or something like that. I don't have that. However, I've heard that adds quite a bit to the game as well. It's a pretty simple system. Easy to pick up, 3d6, you beat a target number, you succeed kind of thing. If you roll doubles, then one of your d6 is a different color or you designate one of the dice as a stunt die. And you can do cool things. Like if you're in combat, it might allow you to do, if your total points on that die are like a 5, you can spend 5 points doing a stunt. That might be to sweep multiple enemies or something like that. I'd have to look at the chart, but or you stun them or whatever. It's really cool. So the idea kind of is that doubles are your critical hits more than anything. I mean, obviously, if you roll 3 6s, that's pretty critical. But yeah, and the stunts tie to various things. So you might have, if you're doing a skill, well, there's skill stunts. There's social stunts. Or actually, I think there's social, combat, and magic. I don't know. I can't remember. I've never played it. I've just read the book. Sue me. But it's a cool system that I think is I think it's pretty easy for people, to pick up and play something like that, where it's like, oh, all I gotta do is roll 3 dice, add the numbers. Oh, did I roll doubles? Okay, you know. And it's to add to the narrative flair of the system, or of the system. Like when you have, these stunts, it creates different descriptions when you're doing things, and allows you to do some cool stuff that you wouldn't normally be able to do. So in the chat, O'Neill Flynn says, "Hey Juice, what's up, buddy? Thank you for joining. Good to see a regular around here." But yeah, so that's a system I really want to play. I want to play Dragon Age. I've been talking to someone at Green Ronin actually about playing or running a game. I'm still waiting on confirmation on the plan for that. So I sent him a message last night. Hopefully I can get that cleared up, because as of right now, I don't know if I need to get other people to play. I don't know if I need to use pre-gens or anything like that. So that's all up in the air, and really trying to figure that out, because I think we had tried to book it for next Saturday. So around the 17th, I think, 16th. Yeah, I think the 16th. So we booked it for the 16th, but I don't know any details on that yet. So hopefully I'll have that soon. Indira Gosa says, "Hello, Juice." Hello, welcome to the chat. Yeah, feel free to post questions or comments, and I will read them and hopefully get you some answers. So, but yeah, Fantasy Age and Dragon Age, I really want to play. My favorite book I own is the Dragon Age book. I do think this is the most beautiful book I own. I'm a little biased because I'm such a fan of the video games. It's still the 3D6 system. It's a little different than Fantasy Age. But it's a good book. And this book, if you own this book, you don't need anything else. There's one that came out called Faces of Thedas. Thedas is the area, part of the world. Or maybe it is the whole world. I don't remember. But it's got a lot of the characters from the games. So it's really cool in that regard. However, there's key characters that aren't in it. I don't remember who, and I don't own the book, so I can't look it up. But yeah. Oh, it's Chai. Hey, Chai. Chai plays in that Friday game I was talking about. So you guys have got to watch that game. If you haven't watched it, there's a playlist on my channel. The party is a lot of fun. Their role play, you could tell they're always having a good time, laughing. Unfortunately, we had some camera issues. Really not camera issues, streaming issues the first couple games, but we got all that sorted out, and last session I think we were able to use cameras again. So they're playing tomorrow and next week for sure. So yeah, you got to tune in for that. It's an awesome group. Like I said, it's one of my favorite games right now to listen to or watch. To watch it, right? But yeah, so it's funny. There's a lot of community topics going on right now. A couple weeks ago, there was the whole orc debate. Someone brought up, they tried to take the counter argument of elves or something this week. I'm not digging into that one, but there's another one in the last week where some content creators are talking about, what is it? Counterspell, 3rd level, I believe, abjuration spell. And most creators are taking the stance that they don't like it. So, which is interesting. But then today I saw that, what is it? Nerd Immersion, I think, came out, at least in his title. I haven't watched it yet, saying he likes it. It's fun. It's a 20-minute video, so I plan on watching that after this. Excuse me. So anyways, it's funny. I've played quite a few games up to like level 8, things like that. I don't think I've ever had a player use Counterspell in my games. I don't know why. I don't think it's too overpowered. If you think about it, you're talking about at 5th level, I think you can get that spell as a wizard. And it's up to spell levels of 3rd or below in order to counter the spell. If it's a spell higher than that, it's like 10 plus the spell's level is the difficulty. And I think when you cast the spell, you're the one that has to make it. I don't know. Anyways, it still isn't that OP because there's still a chance it's going to get through. So I just think that's interesting. especially since you can do the same thing as the DM with your guys. Plus, the spellcasters you should be using as a DM should be more powerful than the spellcaster you're going against, right? Because it's one spellcaster against a party of 4. Uh, at least that's how I view it. So I don't think it's that overpowered because I think that's the debate people have. However, I do see how it could be annoying as a DM for sure. But there are limits. There's restrictions. Got to be within 60 feet, things like that. So, if they can't see the guy, if they can't see the caster, there's the other thing. If he's invisible, cast invisibility. Boom. Then do it. I don't know. There's ways around it. So I don't feel too bad about that being an issue. Also, somebody, it looked like I think the lead designer of Pathfinder shared a gripe he had with a review, talking about first edition Pathfinder being incredibly disorganized for the book, or being the most disorganized book ever, or something like that. And then Cody from Taking 20, I think, was the original review. I think it was talking about second edition, and he he defended his stance, and then said he hopes that they still do well. So I decided right now, I've got the book right here, first edition, right? Because that's the one that was considered the worst ever, right? And I don't think it's organized that poorly. I mean, chapter 1, getting started. So an overview of the system, right? Or how games work. Chapter 2, races. Okay. Chapter 3, classes. Chapter 4, skills. Chapter 5, feats. Okay. All that stuff is like character creation. Then equipment. Sounds good to me. Then it goes into additional rules. Yeah, talking about alignment, statistics, movement, exploration. That's fine. Then chapter 8 is combat. Seems fine. Chapter 9, magic. Okay, seems fine there too. Then it goes into spells, so spell lists and spell descriptions. So, I mean, I guess you could take spells and put those between equipment and feats, or after equipment maybe. But I feel like you'd want to know magic and how that works before you do that. I don't know. Then it goes into prestige classes. Honestly, I'm not a prestige class fan in the first place, since that's basically multi-classing. It's a more advanced thing in 3.5 in Pathfinder. So, whatever. So that's there. Then it goes to game mastering. So chapter 12 is game mastering. Talks about campaign, building adventure, prepping the game, during the game, campaign tips, ending campaign, the environment, creating NPCs, magic items. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. Like, I never felt like the core book was hard to navigate and that it was poorly organized. So I don't agree with Cody. Sorry, Cody from Taking 20. I think it's perfectly fine. In fact, when I look at my D&D book, in fact, my only gripe about Pathfinder, and it's not even a gripe, I actually liked it, is how big the book is. It's a huge, massive book. So looking at D&D 5e, right? Chapter 1, step-by-step character. So that's telling you how to create a character. Then it goes into races. Chapter 2, Chapter 3, classes. Chapter 4, personality and background. Chapter 5, equipment. Chapter 6, customization options. Chapter 7, ability score. So basically it's talking about skills for the most part. Skills and saving throws. Chapter 8, adventuring. Okay. That's fine. That's basically rules. And Chapter 9, combat. Okay. Chapter 10, spellcasting. Chapter 11, spells. Basically the exact same layout, except there isn't a designated DM section. Get to the appendix. You got conditions. You've got deities. In Appendix B. Appendix C is the planes of existence. Appendix D is some creature statistics. Appendix E, inspirational reading. Index and character sheet. Basically the exact same layout as Pathfinder. So I don't think it's that bad. It's just a smaller book. I think both are incredibly easy. I see a lot of people will tab their books. Like, I've seen people tab the D&D Player's Handbook with every single section. And you can, I think it's a little bit much because I feel like even early on when I first picked up 5e back in 2014, I feel like within a month I knew where most things were in the book. The index is terrible. I hate the index in the back, but the book is intuitive to like where things are found, and especially if you've ever played RPGs before. So again, the layout's not that bad where I feel like I need it tabbed. Um, in fact, I think Cody even said the second edition book, because of how it's not tabbed, but it's the pages have like on them in the top right corner what it is. Like if it's the equipment section, if it's weapons, if it's whatever. And he said every book should have this now. And sure, I think it's beneficial, but I don't think it's necessary. Like I'm not going to judge a book for not having it if the book is laid out well. I actually really like that method of laying the books out. I would be very curious to see how Cody would lay a book out himself that would be significantly better. So Chai says, it's so much fun. I'm glad you guys put this together. It's funny you bring that up. So Tom's awesome. I love Tom. I barely knew him when we started our Wednesday game. And I think it was through Twitter. And was just looking for people to play a game. I posted in Twitter. I probably posted on Encounter Roleplay and a bunch of other places just looking for players. And he and his wife responded, but his wife couldn't play at the same time as him back when we had originally talked. And so we ended up setting up a game with him and some other people. And he wanted to run a Warhammer one shot, so we played. And then we did a Zweihander one shot. And it ended up, it was funny because he came to me. He's a go-getter. I love Tom. And he's just like, hey, I want to run a game. Do you want to stream it? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to go get a bunch of people. Great. So it's all Tom. I didn't make anything come together. He'd be running the game whether I was helping or not. I think, obviously I'm using my Zoom, but other than that, he doesn't need me to run the game. So I appreciate it though. I love having it on my channel. So anyways, with obviously not being unemployed now, kind of puts my ideas of getting certain books or games on hold for a while. I was hoping to try and get Pathfinder, the core book, and Monster Manual at least, so I could try to run it or try to play it. Obviously, that's out the window for now. And there's a couple other books I've been wanting to get. But who knows? Maybe I'll figure something out and buy it here soon anyway. Like I said, we're budgeting pretty well. We're okay. My wife is in a good position with her work, and she gets to work from home, so we're saving some money on gas there. And our kids aren't in daycare, so we're saving a lot of money there. Gosh, like well over $1,000 a month there. So strange times we're living in, right? I don't think this year I'll be playing with other people, in person, which is a bummer because I have this awesome game space, and we were playing 3 home games, and now we're playing all online games instead. One of our games isn't even scheduled to be put online because it was me and my wife, and then her brother, his wife, and one of their sons. And at their house, they don't have the equipment to do online gaming, really. So it's like built-in camera with built-in microphone and, things like that. So I don't think that game lends itself as well to online. Plus, with the play styles that we have, it's really important to use miniatures with that group because we go back and forth on tactics, and it's a much more strategic group when it comes to encounters and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. So we'll see what happens. We're playing Tomb of Annihilation for that. And, but luckily we're still playing in our other games, and I'm having fun. I really, really, really lately have really wanted to play Horde of the Dragon Queen. I thought that would be a good time. And, I ran it when it first came out for Adventurers League. I was a Adventurers League DM, and unfortunately had some really inappropriate groups that kind of ruined it for me early on. But yeah, O'Neill Flynn says, ever try Basic Fantasy? I have not. I don't own it. Yeah, I've not played it. Isn't that basically an OSR game? It's like an old school stripped down game. There was also Castles and Crusades. I haven't played either of those. One of those I had read a PDF at one point. Someone sent me a PDF. Was like, check this out, see if you like it. And I remember reading one of them. Gosh, this had to be 4 years ago. And I thought it was really cool, and I thought we were going to get a group together to play. And I was obviously going to play in it, and it just didn't come to fruition. So, kind of a bummer. I'm open to playing more games if people will run them. I'll even, host the Zoom call and everything if people are up for it. But yeah, no, I've never played it. Never played it. Don't know anything about it, really. Isn't it based on like the old Red Box or something, but tweaked a little? But anyways, no, I'm excited though. We've got a lot of guests. So the other day, Owen, who was supposed to be on today, had somebody share. All right, so I posted on Twitter, hey, if you want to know anybody that should come on, they said something, and tag them or whatever. And Owen was tagged. Well, Owen then tagged a bunch of creators himself, and a bunch of them messaged me like, yeah, I'm up for coming on. And I was like, all right, cool. So because of just those couple tweets, and I had a couple people email me, and I had a couple people DM me. Like I said, I'm booked with a Tuesday, Thursday from now through June 18th. And it's mostly creators, right? So that's cool. And I want to get more streamers on here. I want to get more YouTubers, things like that. So I hopefully can continue to do this because I love this. Roll Stats, welcome, buddy. O'Neill Flynn says, yes, Basic Fantasy is free as a PDF at their site. Yeah, okay, so then that's probably what it was. I couldn't remember if it was that or Castles and Crusades, but someone was like, yeah, you should play. And I was like, all right. And we sounded like we were going to play, and nothing ever came of it. So Roll Stats said it's a BX with Ascending Armor class. Okay. Yeah, again, I've never played it. If somebody, whether it's you, O'Neill, or Roll Stats, wants to run it, like I said, I'll happily host it. I'll set up the streaming stuff and create an overlay, and we can happily stream it. I'd be down. We could set it up for like a Saturday next month or something. I'll put it on my calendar. But yeah, let me know if you want to. I'd probably want someone to make me a character. Most likely a fighter of some sort. A human fighter would be fine. Just to get the idea of how the game works. But yeah, I would happily play. I'm open to play pretty much any game, even games I know I don't like. For example, I'm not a fan of Savage Worlds. I'm just not. But I would play it. If somebody wanted to run it, I'd happily play it. So, I don't even have to stream it. I'll come on someone else's channel or something and I'll play it. So it's all good. Whatever people are up for. Right now, the games at the top of my list are Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Dragon Age, and Fantasy Age. Those three are the top games I want to try, hopefully within the next month. But I'm not going to turn down someone running a game for me if they're willing to create a pre-gen for me, I think that'd be a good time. And we'll role play, and we'll see how it all goes, We'll see, how I like the system. We'll see how I like the group, and if the group's good, maybe we'll play more than one session. I don't know. I need to play in a campaign. I haven't played in one in a while. So, I was invited to the Wildemount one, and I don't remember what was going on the first session, but wasn't either feeling up for it or something was going on. But I'm still producing it, so we're good there. But yeah, I need to get into a campaign. Really do. I need a character I can like latch onto and really connect with, because I haven't done that in a while. I've got what am I playing now? Tomb of Annihilation. I'm on my third character, I think. No, second character. I'm on my barbarian. First I had a blue Dragonborn Tempest Cleric. And I really dropped the ball with some of the stuff it could have and should have done. Um, but yeah, so anyways, and my wife's rule is if you die, you make a character that's nothing like the previous one, right? So then I was like, okay, I'm a half-orc barbarian now. So I went from a Dragonborn Cleric to a half-orc barbarian. I've already got it figured out what I'm going to play next, and that is a druid. so jumping back and forth. After that, I will probably go with some kind of I don't know, because my druid would be more tanky. So maybe I would do something like a warlock. But see, then I would make it tanky. I like tanks. I like playing frontline type of characters. So I guess that won't work either. Maybe I'll try a sorcerer for once. That would be fun. Try to play a sorcerer. Yeah. So, but we're not playing because that's the in-person game. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, interesting. Now that's gonna bother me, like, because now I'm gonna want to play that game just so I can kill my character to get to the next and the next. Ah, it's terrible. So I also have character creation dice. I actually have, so here's the alignment dice right here. And I have the race and class dice as well. So I could always roll for it too. So let's just see. Let's just see what I would roll up if it was random. It would be a true neutral elf rogue. That's kind of weak. But you know what? I haven't played a rogue in 5th edition, I don't think. So that would be fine. I would totally do that. So maybe I should make an elf rogue later. Chai said, I just bought the Pathfinder 2nd edition core book, but haven't had an opportunity to actually make a character and play. I guested as an NPC for 2 sessions in a friend's game, but I had no clue. I want creation dice. So I got these at Gen Con 50 a couple years ago. And we had, I think I got it at a ChessX table. However, if you go online, ChessX doesn't sell these dice. So I'm not sure where you can get these. I'd have to look. But yeah, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, I had a little guest. Yeah, these character creation dice are awesome. One of them on the race is roll again. I don't think there's a roll again on the class dice because I think at 12 there are exactly 12. Are there only 9 races in the player's handbook? You know, I never even thought about this. These are probably some of my favorite dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9. I bought a bunch of weird dice that day. So I was kind of... so my father had died day 1 of that Gen Con. And so I don't remember if it was that day or the next day. But when I went, I wasn't planning on spending a bunch of money. So I did the retail therapy thing. It was just like, I'm buying dice. So I got a yes-no die. So there's no, there's yes. I got a challenge die, which is for challenge level. So I do this when I'm creating my encounters. So like a challenge +3, you know, I take the player's level. And since I do milestones, I'm just usually like, all right, 3 levels higher. So I might have like, for example, the Wednesday group, I think they're all level 6 right now. So if I do the roll and I end up with a challenge 3, I'm making probably a challenge level 9 monster or encounter. However, I don't do the math, right? So if I get a bunch of monsters, I fluff it. But if I'm doing like a solo boss, it's going to be a CR9 monster. I also have this die. So I don't I think this is basically the same thing, but it says lower level, equal level, and higher level. And so that's like same kind of thing for challenges, basically. Um, Type of monsters, so elemental, undead, ooze, aberration, plant, magical beast, humanoid, fey, outsider, so on and so on. Treasure, got a treasure die. This one has like mundane items, art, gems, coins, uh, magical items. Yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, so there's that one. And then I got a weather die. So it's got like high winds, for example. And I do this too, storming. So if I know where my players are going in the next session, I might go, okay, it's going to take them about 5 days. I then roll this die 5 times. Only the more extreme ones I usually use in game. Like if it's a clear day, I might say something about it, but sometimes I just don't. It's awesome. I love these dice. Love these creative dice. Got a hit location die, so shows you where they were hit. Sometimes I'll roll this ahead of time as well for like what a trap does, or maybe a player has a sore neck or something. So again, I really like that die. That's a cool one. And then I've got this trap die. So it's got like a monster trap, a pit trap, uh, acid spray, lightning, death ray. I've never used a death ray. Boulder, gas, blade trap, which the blade trap came into effect in my dungeon with the Forgotten Throne a couple sessions ago. Luckily, Renmer went through with his metal foot, so it didn't hurt him yet. So that was awesome. Um, O'Neill says, I picked up Table Fables books myself. I'm not familiar with that. I'm assuming it's a bunch of tables that have things like this. That sounds cool. I do have the random tables. It's on like Amazon for like $10. It's the first one. It's got like 4 different ones. It's not usually stuff like this. It's usually like mundane items you might find in a dungeon or a wizard study or treasure you might get off of like a goblin or something. But yeah, Omnisci says, "Hey Juice, welcome, dude. I would love to have you on sometime if you're interested in coming on. Would love to have you on as a guest if you're interested. Right now, I'm mostly booked up till June 18th, but I think it'd be great to have you on. Would love to chat with you. And I'm trying to get Roll Stats or O'Neill Flynn to run some BX if you want to play that. I'm just gonna form a whole group right here and tell you guys one of you is running it, and we'll just play. No, I'm just kidding, but kind of. I'm only half kidding. But yeah, so got that. A while back, I picked up these PDFs. I think they were free on drive-through, which is why I got them. But one of them is this Unorthodox Treasures, and it says 101 low-level magic items / artifacts. Not only are they low level, but some of the stuff is kind of ridiculous. I took. There was an item in this one, I think. It was like a mud ring or whatever. And I've been using it. Well, I used it for a game. And it ended up being a really fun magic item. I don't know if I don't think I used it as it was written. Where is it? Oh, I used the dragon prod too. Basically, the idea of the dragon prod is you can give somebody the ability to breathe dragon's fire. It's an iron branding prod, is always found in pristine condition with an elegant designed dragon at the end of it. To use the dragon prod, heat it up in a fire for 3 hours. Apply it to raw skin for 5 minutes. The pain will be excruciating. The recipient will take 1d4 points of damage each minute, but is allowed a strength saving throw each time for half damage. Once branded, the insignia on the prod will completely vanish and actually become absorbed on the recipient's new brand, while the staff will harmlessly break off. So now the person who was branded, though, can do a breath weapon, is the idea. And so I used this. I didn't get all difficult with like the description like this. I think I just said that, yeah, you're going to take this amount of damage to have it done to you. However, you can breathe fire like up to so many times before it's gone. And the prod doesn't work after that. Or maybe it was forever. Basically I gave him breath weapon forever. It was how I did it. Because I just I don't think breath weapons is that OP, and I think the group didn't have any. They didn't have any area of effect, and so I was trying to give them something so that I could throw different types of encounters at them. So I mostly did it for me. All right, so here it is. It's the mud ring. It's considered uncommon. This silver ring is encrusted with dark gems. Upon inspection, the ring itself smells very earthy and sometimes wormy and contains just one charge when found. As an action, you can activate the charge to hurl a ball of mud at any target with a ranged attack, and it was 30-60. A hit creature becomes muddied, and the next attack roll made against it by anyone has advantage. If the mud attack resulted in a critical hit, then target also receives disadvantage to its next attack roll. So anyways, basically it'll give you advantage to attack it. However, if you crit, then the creature also has disadvantage against you because it can't see through the mud in its eyes. If the mud attack resulted in a critical miss, then the ring will turn itself on you and put mud in your face, as if you scored the critical hit on yourself. The ring itself can be recharged, maximum of 1 charge, by soaking it in mud for 4 hours. So I think I gave them like 3 charges or 4 charges with that, because I thought it added a lot of cool tactics to a combat, right? Like, say you have somebody who's got cantrips that aren't damage dealing necessarily, and you want someone to be able to do something to help in combat from a distance. That's it right there, So there's some cool stuff in this. So again, it's unorthodox treasures, 101 low magic items / artifacts by the Lay, L-E. And obviously it's 5e compatible. So this is it. I highly recommend it. Pick it up. I believe it's free or pay what you want. So it's really cool. I also got this other one that's for Pathfinder called Legendary IX, Legends of Antiquity. So it's a Pathfinder thing. I got this probably back in like 2013 or 14. This has a ton of Pathfinder magic items. The author is James Lewis, editor Perry Fair and James Lewis, and Mark Gedak. Art by Thomas Baranya. Layout by Mark Gedak, and publisher is Purple Duck Games. So this one, I don't think I've ever used anything directly out of it. I think with this, I've always just used it for inspiration. Because, there's some pretty big write-ups on some of the items. Like, look at that. That's a full-page write-up. I don't need all that. I'm not going to try and tell my players everything right here. Skip that. So, and it lists feats and things like that associated with it, and, whatever. But yeah, good stuff in here. If you like Pathfinder, at least first edition, this is cool. I don't know how things would port over to second edition because, again, I haven't played it. So, But I love stuff like that. I absolutely love... I'm big and I don't tend to give extremely powerful things to my party. I usually, especially at low levels, I'll try to give them something to change the dynamics and maybe the tactics a little bit, and not necessarily make it so they always do something. I don't want players to come into battle and do the same thing every time. I don't want it to be predictable. As a DM, for me, a fun game is not predictable at all. A fun game for me challenges me to come up with interesting responses. So for example, the Blackrock Adventures game the other day, so I improvised the whole dungeon that we went through. The whole thing. Had no plan for it. In fact, when they went to there and I realized it wasn't in my notes, even though I thought it was, I quickly drew out a map and ran with it. So yeah, that was kind of how things, go for that. I'm not the best at improvising, I'll be honest, but for me, it's always the most fun. So, sorry, let me respond to my wife. Apparently my son is up. Um, so yeah, like little things like that are cool too because again, I really enjoy creating magic items, right? And again, it's not the most powerful stuff. The mud ring, for example, that's not OP. It's really just kind of like a aid from a distance, or a help action from distance. Um, so it's kind of cool to to come up with something that obviously nobody in the party is like, oh my god, I gotta have that ring, right? But I had a couple people that did want it, and it did come into play for a couple sessions. At low levels, it was great. I also let my players sell their magic items later on once it pretty much becomes useless. It's not always like oh, I'm in town, I'm just going to sell it to whoever, but I might have them come across an NPC who is interested in it. So in my Wednesday game, The Forgotten Throne, Tom has a mall that he's been using or not using, and he had said his character is built to use swords, dual wield swords. So it made me think, all right, well, he's not going to use this. Nobody else is using it because I got a wizard and I got a arcane archer. And before that, I had a paladin who wasn't going to use it because she was using a sword and shield. And I had a tiefling sorcerer. So I was like, all right, I'm going to use this group that technically seeks out magic items and they destroy them. They're called the Anvil Ringers. And they're just the secret society that destroys magic items. Well, they were looking for this mall, right? And Tom decided to hide it the first time he came across these people. And after they had kind of said that they were looking for it. And then the last session, they encountered them in a dungeon. And the players attacked them. After being offered 500 gold for this mall and being told that they were just going to destroy it. And so the players are like, no, you can't destroy it. We're keeping it. And so now they've created adversaries, which was not my intention. The idea was, hey, I'm going to give you some gold for a magic item you haven't been using. And they decided, no, we're going to hang on to it. So, again, it's that whole improv thing. Unexpected. I love it. And it's it was me trying to help my players that weren't using a magic item at all and didn't have any plans to. So yeah. So anyways, that's how I run games in a nutshell, right? Right there. I love the improv aspect and I like to help my players out a little bit by having somebody come into the game as an NPC that's willing to buy it off of them. Chai says, wow, impressive. I'm assuming you mean the improving a dungeon. So it kind of screwed things up. I knew that this city that was in ruins so the area of my world is basically, it was a huge trade center. Like all the cities in the area were, booming with business from the obsidian stone market. They were using obsidian stone to make obsidian metal and then sell and trade this stuff. And it was a booming economy, right? This was like 1,000 years ago. Well, then the mines kind of closed up because of various reasons, which I know players haven't figured it out yet. The narrative that they do know is that like a lot of them became overrun with vermin, and some of them they couldn't find the ore anymore, and so they closed the mines due to the vermin, and it wasn't worth the risk anymore. And so then a lot of these towns and cities became ghost towns and eventually just withered away, right? So you have one large city that's a port city that obviously found other means to make money. And then there's another one that's on the other side of the mountains that found a way to, at least stay relevant, and not turn into a ghost town. But of most of the cities in the area, they became ghost towns. So this one actually used to be the capital, but it's not near a body of water. It's near the mountains. In fact, it's really close to the mountains. However, there's not really any means of, natural survival, right? It's not near good farmland. It's not near, anything really relevant. And the dangers around the area are too extreme, again, for people to just stick around when things were getting ugly. Amnesai says, gotta go. Good to see you, Juice. Let me know when you want me for that guest spot. I'm free most afternoons. I will send you a message, buddy. I will message you on Facebook in the next couple days. Maybe even later today. Have a good one. Stay safe. We so the idea was that this city, people left and eventually it just collapsed. Now, the people who were in charge in the city ended up missing too. So that kind of was part of the narrative for that as well, that the players kind of know about. And that's similar to another a fort that they were at, where they found out that the guy who was in charge of it was similar thing. He basically disappeared around this time. So as the economy is collapsing, a couple big important leaders disappeared basically, or were killed or whatever. So the party. So when they went to this dungeon, I was trying to improvise stuff and completely went off the rails, right? So I was getting caught up with my descriptions of like an angel statue, but then over here was like a devil statue. So then I was like, all right, it's a good and evil kind of thing, like a balance thing. I don't know what made me come up with it. Then there was like a tapestry, because I rolled a random thing in a table that said like a tapestry, and so then I was like, you see this large stone that looks like obsidian, but it's not. So then I had to make up something. Ended up calling it a portal stone, and the devils and the angels were fighting over it. So that became what this was about. I came up with like some magical traps. The next session, so they were still here. They found a secret door, and the next session is going to go deeper into this place. And so I think I'm going to make this a mega dungeon and just have multiple layers, and I'm just going to build on this singular story within itself. So at some point they're going to learn more about this, but now I'm forced to write about something I had no idea about, which is cool. I love it. And it adds a lot to this region, and they're running with, oh, maybe this is why this leader disappeared, because of this portal stone. The thing they knew about the portal stone is since then there have been people who supposedly came in contact with this and disappeared, but turned up like hundreds of years later at a different time, with like basically at the time of when they touched this stone. But they just teleported somewhere. But it wasn't even just a location thing, it was also a time period. So like I might be a human, I touched the portal stone in like 1980, all of a sudden I'm standing here and it's 2020. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of how it's this portal stone works. It's kind of like a time machine, but then also teleports you to a random place and a random time. So I'm gonna have to make a table for that. Heck, maybe I can shoot people back in time with it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, because then if the players get to it, then what? So again, it leaves that whole improv thing up and could totally change everything. Or I could steal inspiration from something like the Dragon Age video game, right? Where in the Dragon Age video game, there's a time in Inquisition where you time travel. And once you do the thing, you at least see the future if you don't correct the issue, right? So maybe that's what I do. Maybe I let them time travel and do a quick like adventure in the future if they don't stop such and such from happening. I don't know. It could be really, really cool. But I just got to figure out how I'm going to do that. Could add a lot to the story is what I think it comes down to, and gives me a chance to play around with storytelling a little more than just, hey, I'm running a game, here's the dungeon, here's boop, 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 finish. So I don't know, there's so many possibilities, but this is what I love. I get my mind working now just by doing this stream. Now I'm already thinking like, I need to take inspiration from the video game and do a scene similar to like, oh, this is what happens if you don't stop the big bad guy. So that might be kind of cool. They don't know who the big bad guy is yet, though. Whereas in Inquisition, you at least knew who the big bad guy was. So maybe I can do something about that. I don't know. I got to figure that out. Right now, my game has. So I do. Do I have my outline for this one right here? I don't. I do an outline. Oh, it's not. It's on the computer. So I do an outline for my campaign of what kind of happens, and then as players do things in game, I change my outline. So it's not like it's set in stone that this is the story, this is what happens. But at least with my outline, it gives me direction of what would happen. And so, like, say I have a bad guy that's I use in number 1, number 6, number 8, right? So consider those like chapters. Well, if the players kill him in chapter 1, he's not in chapter 6 and 8, but maybe somebody else steps in. Or if they solve a problem that makes number 6 impossible altogether, then I just, again, I change it. Or I just remove it if it's not relevant anymore. So that's how I prep campaigns. At least that's when I run a good campaign, I tend to have an outline. When I don't have a good outline, I tend to run some pretty messed up campaigns, directionless at times. And for me, they're not as fun, and players sometimes scratch their head a bit more. So the outline's important because it keeps me on track. But yeah, and then even my sessions, I'm trying to think of individual sessions more as scenes. So if, for example, a party is traveling to a city, right? So my BlackRock game, they're traveling to Port Obsidia. In Port Obsidia, I already know the exact place they're going, right? So I got to set up a scene for that. I got to set up a scene for as they get to the city, set up a scene, maybe inside the city, at the tavern, assuming that's where they're going to go, at the inn, because they're going to have a place to stay. Maybe they do some shopping because they've got some gold. Maybe they do some other types of investigations. So all these different scenes. Well, with these scenes, I got to put some memorable things in it, right? I got to put some NPCs, maybe some hooks that might lead to other scenes. So my prep kind of like spider webs out based on these scenes. And again, I try to tie them all together. Now, I don't usually prep the scenes beyond the first points, right? So right now I got the entrance to the city, the place they need to go, and the tavern/inn. That's it. I have not prepped beyond that. NPCs might have different hooks. Based on those hooks, I can improvise what might happen. But the thing that's most important even with that is I think there's a couple different ways to prep. You can prep to improvise, or you can prep to like run it on the rails and this is how it has to be. And, oh crap, they just went somewhere and I'm not prepared for it. What do I do? Kind of thing. So I think you got to prep to improvise. And a book that I would highly recommend is The Lazy Dungeon Master by Sly Flourish. It runs on the rule of 3. I also got some ideas from DM Tips or GM Tips by John Four. You can subscribe to his newsletter over on GameMasterTips.com, I think. And very, very helpful. There's new stuff all the time. Sometimes it contradicts previous tips. So don't get too caught up going down that rabbit hole. Figure out a way that works for you and just run with it. 'Cause I found that I experiment a little bit too much sometimes. So for a while, I got away from my campaign outlines, and it hurt my campaigns. So again, figure out what you like and stick with it. Don't try to, get too far off the thing that works for you. So with that, I'm going to end today's stream. I've got my son inside. He's supposed to be taking a nap. He is not. So my wife has been texting me. That's why I've been looking at my phone a lot. So I got to get him to take his nap. And yeah, but I had fun. Actually, this is a really good solo stream, I think. And I'll do more of these. I like doing this. I need to do a world building one. Maybe play around with some World Anvil. I haven't played with World Anvil in a couple weeks. So need to get back to doing that. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments or, whatever. Let me know on Twitter. Because, yeah, World Anvil is really cool. I use the free version, and you can post like over 100 articles, I think. So it's really cool, really useful. So I use it for my homebrew worlds, and most of my games are in my homebrew world. So, one of those things. But if this is your first time, please subscribe, hit that like button. I see, that I've got 2 likes on the video so far, so that's cool. We will have new guests next week. I will be talking to D&D Elise this weekend. We're going to record our stream rather than do it live, and I will post that. Hopefully, it'll be probably whenever a guest either doesn't show up or something like that. So like today, for example, or I'll just put it up for like Wednesday or something. So thanks again, guys. Chai, Roll Stats, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Game on. Not break.